I'm the guy who's known for weed whipping the governor's lawn during COVID when Her Majesty decided that the landscapers were not allowed to landscape during our 2 weeks to flatten the curve here in Michigan. You guys remember that? A big protest in front of her house. There was hundreds of people there. I decided to bring my electric weed whipper. Went right in front of the governor's house, in front of her camera. I said, I hear that mowing somebody else's lawn is a crime now in Michigan. Well, my name's Nick Somberg. Here's the address to my law firm. And I just noticed that you have a couple blades of grass that need to be cut. And I took my electric weed whipper and started to, oh, you missed a spot here. You missed a spot there. Proceeded to weed whip the governor lawn in front of news cameras, her security cameras, to make the point that this isn't a crime. And if it is a crime, now I just gave myself standing. So go ahead and send me my misdemeanor. Please give me the grounds to take this to court and to fight this and to beat you. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Liberty Lawyer Podcast. My name is Nick Somberg. I'm your host. I'm a criminal defense attorney from the great state of Michigan. I'm a jury trial attorney. I'm also a candidate for the United States House of Representatives, and I've made a career of fighting for the government and standing up for people's constitutional rights when nobody else would. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about real cases, real scenarios where the government has gone after somebody and way overstepped their boundaries, and we've had to fight them tooth and nail, sometimes all the way through jury trial and won, to keep people protected and stand up for the Constitution when nobody else would, or when these people were unable to do so for themselves. Because what really bothers me are bullies in our system, and when somebody with absolute power goes after somebody who can barely stand up for and defend themselves. And I've stepped in countless times really now and gotten between somebody's freedom and the government, and I've fought them and won. If you're passionate about the law, liberty, and justice, please subscribe to this podcast and leave us a positive review. I've made a career and name for myself fighting for people and for standing up against the government. From representing a man who was ticketed for warming up his own car in his driveway, for taking to trial a case where the government charged a man for talking bad about a judge online, or another man who played the song F the Police from his car and was facing 93 days in jail. I have so many cases where I've brought it all the way to jury trial and have won every time when I'm standing up for somebody's constitutional rights. I'm the first lawyer, I would say, also to normalize posting about cases online on Facebook. I believe that we need transparency in our justice system. And a lot of lawyers, when I started doing this, I said, hey, like, why are you posting online about your cases? And now everybody does it. And not only is it a good way to get your name out, but I believe that people need to know what's happening in our system, and it's going to create a more fair and just system and help people be able to protect themselves. Along with posting about my cases and victories on Facebook, I'm also involved with real-world protests. I'm the guy who's known for weed whipping the governor's lawn during COVID when Her Majesty decided that the landscapers were not allowed to landscape during our 2 weeks to flatten the curve here in Michigan. You guys remember that? We just had to stay in our houses for 2 weeks and everything would be okay. Well, during that, our governor decided that you're not allowed to make a living. You're not allowed to cut somebody else's lawn, which of course makes no sense whatsoever. That was a time where the government was deciding who's essential and who's non-essential. But of course, when you went to the governor's mansion, her bushes were perfect. Her lawn was manicured. And there was a big protest in front of her house. There was hundreds of people there. There's people open carrying rifles. There's people with their signs, homemade signs. News cameras were there. I decided to bring my electric weed whipper. And what I did was right in front of the governor's house, in front of her camera, and I took my electric weed whipper and said, I hear that mowing somebody else's lawn is a crime now in Michigan. Well, my name's Nick Somberg. Here's the address to my law firm, and I just noticed that you have a couple blades of grass that need to be cut. And I took my electric weed whipper and started to, oh, you missed a spot here, you missed a spot there, and proceeded to weed whip the governor lawn in front of news cameras, her security cameras, to make the point that this isn't a crime. And if it is a crime, now I just gave myself standing. So go ahead and send me my misdemeanor. Please give me the grounds to take this to court and to fight this and to beat you. Posting on Facebook's also gotten me into a little bit of trouble. I'm actually the only person that I know who's received a lifetime ban from Facebook of my entire account. I have a screenshot of this also. Lifetime ban. It says your account has been permanently disabled. This decision cannot be reversed. I was banned for life from Facebook for sharing an actual exhibit that the Attorney General used in the case against men plotting to kidnap the governor. Now, I was a lawyer for one of those men as well, and they were set up by the FBI. Most of the people involved in this entire plot, there wasn't really a plot, most of the people involved were FBI agents. But on the first day of our preliminary exam, the Attorney General puts up on the screen in front of the entire courtroom a meme. They had their Facebook tracked for years, over a year, hundreds and hundreds of memes. But the one that they used to prove these people's intent to kidnap the governor was basically a picture of Governor Whitmer in like the Pornhub website video box, and it said, "Slut F's the whole state." And I'm in the middle of court, like, I had to look down. I had tears in my eyes. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. And they show the meme, and later that day, because I post about my cases on Facebook, I update people on what's really going on out there. I shared. I said, "Hey, this is an actual meme that the Attorney General used in court today." And that's all I said. I didn't say anything more than that. Within an hour or so, my account was permanently disabled. Was completely wiped off the face of the earth. And when I tried to log in, and I have still my screenshot of this, it says, your account has been permanently disabled. This decision cannot be reversed. I tried contacting Facebook. I was willing to fly out there and knock on their door and say, "Hey guys, please give me my Facebook account back." I didn't threaten anybody. I didn't post anything lewd or horrible. I basically posted a political joke. And this same meme has actually been used against Republicans to say they've effed the whole state, that Trump's effed the whole country, right? And specifically the one about Trump, I've seen it, and it was shared thousands and thousands of times, and that was okay. But because I'm a conservative, because I'm a libertarian, because I'm a Republican, I was basically just able to have my entire account, all my followers gone in 1 second. How I got this back was because a reporter who followed me, who heard about what happened or saw what happened, reached out to me and got my side of the story. And I told him exactly what I've told you guys now. And he says, "Okay, well, I'm going to reach out to Meta. I'm going to reach out to Facebook because I'm writing an article on how conservative voices are being censored online." And once he reached out to them, he never got a reply. But within a week, out of the blue, my entire account was just back. Everything. With no explanation, no email. And I'm the only person that I know of, even President Trump, who was banned for life, I'm the only person that I know of that has received a lifetime ban and got their whole account back. And I don't know how I don't know how else to explain that happened. So this is what I do. I fight the government, I stand up for people, and I tell everyone about it. And the system's tried to shut me up many times. I faced grievance after grievance. I'm facing a grievance right now against my state license just for talking about public information online. And it's because I'm on the wrong side, apparently, of the approved opinions out there. Right now, I'm facing a grievance against me for a case that we have 16 Republicans facing 8 felonies apiece from our Attorney General. Our Attorney General decided to charge these people 3 years after what she calls a felony for signing a piece of paper. These 16 people were our 16 Republican delegates for the presidential election. Now, people are familiar with the electoral college system, so there's a popular vote, but what actually matters are the electoral votes that each presidential candidate gets. Now, if Biden won Michigan, you have the 16 Democrat votes. If Trump won Michigan, you have the 16 Republican votes. Now, this is all public information, by the way. Right now, it's an ongoing case, but everything that I'm talking about is already in the public sphere. These people were charged with 8 felonies apiece at the advice of counsel for what they believed was lawful, legal, and their patriotic duty for what they were doing. And they basically submitted a paper that said, in the event that voter fraud is found in Michigan, that Donald Trump is the true winner of Michigan, that we are the 16 electoral votes. And they were under the impression that if they didn't sign this and Trump was the winner of Michigan, that he wouldn't get any electoral votes. Now, our Democrat Attorney General, Democrat Governor, but mostly our Attorney General in this case, decides to charge these people 3 years after the fact. Why she waited so long, we can only guess why. It's a completely political case. These people are in their 70s, they're in their 80s, they're facing up to 14 years in prison. 8 felonies apiece for signing a piece of paper. What they're charged with is forgery, fraud, election fraud, conspiracy to do so, and then they double it. I'm like, well, okay, even if you are charging them, why is it double? Why is everything times 2? And the Attorney General's response was, well, the one signature counts for Trump and then Vice President Pence. So that's all the felonies have to double. Now this is unprecedented. This makes no sense at all. It's like if you write a check for forgery and you forge a check for $10,000, do you get charged with 10,000 felonies? No, it's one act. But you can see how the Attorney General is doubling things up and playing these games to really scare people into speaking up, that if you believe that there's election fraud ever in the future, you better keep your mouth shut, because they want people to be in fear to see what happened to these 16 folks that they're fighting for their life. They're fighting for their freedom. They've had to have fundraisers and spend an incredible amount of money just to defend themselves and stay out of jail, when really they're all innocent across the board. Now the system's decided to come after me personally on this. And they're coming after me because I shared a reporter's photograph. Now this reporter was allowed to be in the courtroom, was allowed to film and photograph, was allowed to talk about what happened, and he did so. There was one of the 16 electors who the Attorney General convinced to basically turn on everybody and become their witness, and they're going to drop all of his charges. Now, the Attorney General didn't really get much out of it, because the truth is the truth, and this man's testimony only helped us because he basically said exactly what happened, which is they signed this piece of paper in the alternative that if Trump won Michigan, these would be the electoral votes. But the articles about this man, who I won't name for this podcast, but that he became an informant. He became an informer for the Attorney General. He became their witness. I shared their article. I shared his article and just wrote, the Attorney General's star snitch has now testified. And that, using the word snitch instead of informant, there was a left-wing Twitter page that I've now realized is completely obsessed with me. I didn't even know who these people were, but they jumped on this, told it to the judge, and that got me in trouble, where now they're going after my law license in the state of Michigan for using the word snitch instead of informant. Now, these words mean the same thing, and you're allowed, I know from dealing with this before in other cases, that you're allowed to say things that are objectively true. So when you're in court, you can't call somebody swear words. You can't call someone an a-hole, a b. You can't say F this. But if someone's a liar, you can call. If someone doesn't tell the truth, you can call them a liar. If somebody steals, you can call him a thief. You're allowed to say things that are objectively true. So when this man is an informant, and it's public knowledge, and instead of the word informant, I use the word snitch, which if you look up in the dictionary, if you pull out your thesaurus, it's the same thing. It's like calling a car an automobile. But when I used a different word, oh, now all hell's broken loose and the system's coming after me personally. So they're coming after me for this semantic games, for saying something that's objectively true and that I'm allowed to say. At the same time, our Attorney General Dana Nessel, when this case first started, she went in front of a whole group of people on TV, recorded. This is on video. You can look this up. She said that our clients are brainwashed, that they're brainwashed, that they believe Donald Trump actually won the election, and that they couldn't plead guilty if they wanted. Now, she's wrong both ways. Because now, first of all, if they're not brainwashed and you call them brainwashed, well, didn't you just make a disparaging remark? Shouldn't she have to face the same trials that I have to face for making a disparaging remark, calling somebody a snitch, calling somebody brainwashed? Is there really any difference? Except what I said was true. And why is our Attorney General allowed to go in front of a room of people and call somebody brainwashed? And when this is brought up to the judge, it's brushed off, and she can get away with it. And it's because she's a Democrat, and the lawfare is only against us Republicans and the conservatives and people trying to fight the system. Now, the other side of this whole brainwash comment, it's either they're not brainwashed and she just made an untrue, disparaging remark and should have to face the grievance board, or maybe they are brainwashed. And if they are brainwashed, well, the Attorney General has just conceded her entire case because they're charged with fraud. They're charged with forgery. These are specific intent crimes. Now, if you're drinking and driving, doesn't require intent. You get behind the wheel of a car, you drink, you're on a public road, you get pulled over, you're guilty. Or you can be charged with that. You don't have to intend to do it. But fraud, you have to have the actual intent to deceive. You have to have the actual knowledge that what you're doing is wrong and that you're writing a bad check or you're doing something to trick other people into what you want to do. So when our Attorney General says that they're brainwashed, that they actually believe Trump won and they couldn't plead guilty if they wanted, to me, that's a complete concession of your entire case. You just admitted that they couldn't plead guilty if they wanted. They did not have the required, called mens rea, they did not have the required specific intent to even commit this crime at all. So she should either drop the entire case because she just conceded that she's wrong, or if she doesn't believe that they're brainwashed, she just made a disparaging remark and she should be in the same boat as me, having to face the State Bar of Michigan board. And why is she treated differently than me? Our system is being used to attack Republicans. It's being used to attack Donald Trump. I mean, what person ever in history? You look at the biggest gangsters, the biggest bad guys in history ever. Al Capone, Pablo Escobar. That's not really the United States, but no one's been charged with 100 felonies ever. What did this guy do to have the entire system running against him? And to me, that says, well, he must be the good guy, because anybody out there trying to change the world, anybody out there really trying to buck the system, this is exactly what they would do to him, or what they would do to anybody. And they're attacking. This is called lawfare, and it's something that doesn't happen in not supposed to happen in civilized, free countries. This happens in banana republic countries. It happens in communist countries where the party in power uses the force of the state to attack their political opponents. And that's exactly what's happening now. And not only that, but the system somehow says that Donald Trump is trying to deny democracy, that Donald Trump is trying to suppress people's voices, to take people's choices away. But this is exactly what the system is doing to us, that they're saying, hey, we don't even want you to have the choice to vote for Donald Trump. We're going to take him off the ballot. We're going to try to put him in jail. We're going to try to lock him up or disqualify him. That is attacking democracy. That's taking people's choice away from us. And not only are they attacking him, but they're attacking everybody down the line. So in Michigan, all these people that I just talked about, these are the people who fought the hardest for Trump. These are the people who got him elected and turned Michigan red in 2016. And there's a concerted effort, I believe there's an organized effort across the country to attack these top Republicans who got Trump elected in Michigan in Georgia, in Nevada. They're going across the board to scare everybody, to waste their resources, and to drain them emotionally and spiritually so they can try to steamroll us here in 2024. All these stories are real things happening right now, or cases that I've fought. And I talk about this stuff. I post these things on Facebook because I believe that fighting in the light is what keeps you safe. The system wants you to shut up. That's why our founding fathers put our freedom of speech as the First Amendment, because the First Amendment is the most important one to keep everything else in place. And that's what I do. And I don't care that the system comes after me for it, because it's what I'm doing is more important than what happens to me. I'm fighting for transparency in the system. I'm fighting for freedom, and I want people to know about it, and I want people to have the knowledge so that they can protect themselves and their loved ones. So that's why I started this podcast. I'm doubling down on everything. I want people to know what's going on in our system. I want people to know their rights so that they can defend themselves. So if these are the types of stories that interest you, please subscribe to this podcast and you'll get updates about new episodes coming out, and we'll keep you informed about what's really going on in our system.